Alrighty, everyone, we got a lot of off-season news to talk about on this first off-season episode of Drag Racing Central. Welcome back, everyone, to everyone who's watching or will be watching soon. We got a lot of news to talk about. A lot of news to talk about in the off-season, which is weird. Drag racing, it just never stops. You might as well not even call it an off-season. The news just never stops, and that's great. So, great for me at least, because I got something to talk about. So, let's get straight into it with the super funny car body that was debuted by TRD, Toyota Racing Development. The new super funny car body, it amazes me that people are complaining about this. I don't know why. I don't see what the big complaint is. I don't get it, but I guess people just hate Toyota for some. They like have a passion to hate against Toyota. I don't know why, but it looks great. It looks the stockest of all the funny car bodies. That's not saying it's gonna be exactly stock, because some people always like to say, "Oh, it has nothing in common with a regular Supra." Blah 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 blah. It's not really the point, because I doubt back in the 1970s when all these people like to point to, I highly doubt that a 1970 funny car like a Dodge Charger had anything in common with a street Charger. I highly doubt that. So I don't want these people to say that and like complain that it's not doesn't use Toyota parts, blah 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 blah. I don't want these people to complain about that because that just don't make sense. But those same people also point back to the 1970s. That was like amazing. But we'll ignore those people for a little bit. But in my opinion, looks great. It's honestly all the funny cars should look somewhat like this. It does remind me of one thing though. It reminds me of the next gen car in NASCAR, the NASCAR next gen car. If you haven't looked it up, I highly recommend you look at some pictures of the next gen car. The next gen car, it looks, for NASCAR at least, it looks really, really good. It looks, I mean, they're not exact replicas, but you could look at it and still tell what it is. You know, like you could take a regular Joe off the street and tell him to point at that car and he could tell you what it is. They look that great. And Toyota's heavily involved with NASCAR as well, so maybe it's time for NHRA to start learning from that and say, hey, maybe it's time we introduce a next gen pro stock or a next gen funny car body for all the OEMs. Make the, I guess, body line rules more strict, which should have been like that since day one to begin with. But it does look great. Alexis DeJoria and J.R. Todd did a system on the funny car body. They had a major role in it being created. So I don't want people saying that they don't listen to the drivers. Don't say that anymore because they do. That clearly proves it. So that's about it on the Super. Let you know what you think about that in the comments. You like it, you hate it, you don't care. Let's see what you think. Now on to the next one, TV ratings. The TV ratings are up, which is a shocker. The NHRA is dead crowd is going to be like hitting their doors right now. I don't know what they're doing. They're all going crazy. They're going to be mad. But NHRA from Pomona posted 341,000 viewers from Sunday's FS1 broadcast at Pomona. That is up 20% over 2019. That is great. Which for FS4, a tape delayed broadcast on FS1, I don't think people realize how good that is, especially considering there was a lot of spoilers from the people who have NHRA.TV online. So I don't think people realize how good that is. This is the best season since 2018 with an average of 513,000 views across Fox and FS1, up 3% over 2020 and up 5% over 2019. That is more great news out of NHRA for TV ratings, and it's only going to get bigger. It can only get bigger from this, so that's great news, and especially with the Tony Stewart racing and all this silly season stuff. Oh my God, it's gonna be nuts next year. I don't think people realize how crazy it's gonna be. But we're gonna get into the next topic of discussion: the class roster. NHRA released a class schedule for 2022 at all national events, and I think it's all right. It can be improved, and I'm going to get into that in a bit. Honestly, for my own selfish needs, I'm a little bit disappointed that Pro Stock is not at Maple Grove, but I can deal with that. That's okay. But Top Fuel Funny Car will be at every single event. Pro Stock will not be at Charlotte 1, Richmond, Brainerd, Reading, and I think, yeah, they'll make all the other races. So that's about it for the Camping World side of things. Pro Stock Motorcycle will be at Gainesville, Houston, Charlotte 1, Richmond, Bristol, Norwalk, Denver, Sonoma, Topeka, Indianapolis, Reading, St. Louis, Dallas, Vegas, and Pomona to end out the season. And That is great. It does confuse me a little bit though that Pro Stock is not at Richmond, because I would always think that I thought Richmond always had like a really big history with Pro Stock. Now I became a fan slightly after Richmond was taking off the schedule back in, like, I think it was 2009, 2008. It was taken off the schedule. I became a fan slightly after that, so I don't really know. But when Richmond was first added back, everyone always said it was like the Pro Stock Disneyland or something like that. I don't. Someone would have to inform me on that. But everyone always said that that was really big for Pro Stock. I don't know why they're not at that track, but hey, the Pro Stock guys wanted to run a smaller schedule, so why don't we let him do that? Like, it's obviously it's proven to be better for the class. I still think the schedule as a whole needs to be way shorter. I don't know why that the schedule is still as long as it is. It should be like 17, 16, 15 races. I think would be a happy medium for everyone. But I don't know. But factory stock, I've noticed, has been running looks like a slightly less races than they were last year, or I guess still technically this year, but last year. One thing that did pop my eyes though is Top Sportsman. Top Sportsman seems to be running a lot more races than they were before. And honestly, I'm going to get into my point behind that, why I'm bringing that up, is that those classes are on the rise, like door slammers classes. Because if you look at all the big, like, single, like, races, like all the big single drag races, they usually feature a few classes. They feature Pro Mod, Top Sportsman, and some kind of steel body radial class, like X275, Pro 275, whatever. They feature something like that. Those are all the big standalone events. They all have those types of classes there. So in my opinion, NHRA should kind of like piggyback off of that success and like bring some more classes like that to national events. Because no offense, I do not like watching Super Comp and Super Gas and whatever, those .90 throttle stop. I do not like that stuff. For all the people that do and the free people that race it, it could be really fun for all I know. Because I obviously haven't driven one, probably never will. But it, from a spectator standpoint, it is like, oh my god, it is no. No. And in my opinion, more heads-up classes need to be brought to these national events. Like, they need to start looking outside the box or bringing new classes out, thinking of new things to bring into national events that would create a show outside the pro ranks. Because I'm not saying that all those other classes like Pro Mod, Alcohol Dragster, Funny Car isn't a show, but for the casual fan, create a show outside of the Camping World classes. That would be a great, great idea. So I don't know why they're not doing that. Some I thought of is bringing 850 index to national events. I feel like this class would fit in perfectly. This class would fit in perfectly. And if you don't know what 850 index is, I highly recommend you look it up. Essentially, it's sort of like Super Comp and Super Gas, except there's no throttle stops allowed. So you can't, you don't watch the car start, stop, and then go again or do whatever they do. You don't watch that. It's actually some pretty good racing in 850 Index and all the cars. Oh my god, 850 Index race is like going to a car show. All the cars, like, oh my god, they're all beautiful at 850 Index races. So I think that should be thought of. It's mostly a class in the Northeast. That, from what I know of, it could be some other places in the world, but from what I know, it's mostly a class that's big in the Northeast. But I don't know why this isn't at like races at national events. It amazes me that it's not. But we're gonna get away from the class schedule. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do you agree? You disagree? You don't care? Let us know what you think about. Think about it in the comments below. And now on to, in my opinion, probably the biggest tease of this offseason so far, Josh Hart. And we all know this man's been on a roll this season. He won 2 races in his rookie season. The man's been already on the roll, but it just ain't stopping. He posted on Twitter, "One rig at home safely tucked inside. Wait a minute, is there another one?" So, could this be a tease for a second Josh Hart racing car? I don't know. Would it be a top fuel car? Would it be a funny car? I don't know. There's a lot of talk that can have to do with this right here. And honestly, this is going to be a duplicate Torrance team, I think. Sort of like the 2-car team, sort of like a copy, not necessarily a copy, but you get what I'm talking about. A similar concept to how Torrance runs their team. The Torrance Racing team is run now. And that is That's good. That's what we should want. Everyone as fans should be rooting for this. There's no reason. And plus, good job with getting the social media world ablaze, like causing like not really controversy, but like making them go crazy over stuff because that's what NASCAR does, and it works really well for NASCAR. Whenever a NASCAR team has like big news to leak, they'll always like make the Twitter world or the Facebook world go crazy over it, and that's great. It builds anticipation, it builds hype to the announcement. So that's great news from Josh Hart. And could it be happening? I don't know. But we don't know. So we're gonna just have to wait and see until I guess Pomona of next season. So that's gonna be it from me. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And we'll see y'all next one whenever there's more news. But with the way this silly season's going, there's probably definitely gonna be news. So we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.